Gold is edging higher as all eyes are on the U.S.-China trade talks. Platinum is soaring, silver is hitting new highs, but unfortunately, so is consumer credit. That and more in today's video. Well, thank you for joining me. Hope you are doing well. It is Tuesday, June 10th. I'm Ric Bender, and welcome to Finance Lab. All eyes are on China-U.S. trade talks, and the metals are responding. Also, the dollar continues to weaken, and the metals are responding to that as well. We'll give you the details. Unfortunately, as gold, platinum, and silver are climbing, so is consumer debt. It's reaching all-time highs. We'll get into that. Couple comments from Peter Schiff and a little bit more in today's video. So let's begin with our first story. I want to read from an article published by Reuters. I'll put a link in the description below if you wish to refer to the articles or any available articles. Here's the headline from Reuters. Gold edges higher with spotlight on U.S.-China trade talk. A lot of volatility and a lot of people are wondering how this is going to play out. But Reuters ran this. Gold prices edged higher on Monday, supported by a weaker U.S. dollar, which will give you the details, as market participants kept a close eye on the ongoing U.S.-China trade talks. Spot gold rose 0.6% to $33.2970 an ounce. That was at 11:28 Eastern Time, after dropping to a more than 1 week low earlier in the session. There's some volatility in the metals. U.S. gold futures added 0.2% to 33.5150. Meanwhile, the U.S. dollar index, or the DXY, it shed 0.2%, making greenback price bullion cheaper for other currency holders. Remember, Trump wants to bring the dollar down. He needs a cheaper dollar. Senior U.S. and Chinese officials meet in London to discuss tit-for-tat tariffs imposed on each other's products this year, along with other trade restrictions. In the short term, if there's a positive outcome of the meeting, it could be a little negative for gold, but not too much. I think a weaker economy, likely interest rate cuts, and lower momentum on the risk appetite side is getting people to move into gold. And of course, expectations of higher inflation. So some inflation numbers are out, less than 2.2% or less than expectations, but we still don't have groceries or energy plugged into those figures. But what we're seeing is the metals are responding and they are climbing higher. But unfortunately, I want to pull away from the metals for a moment and talk about the consumer. And I want to show you this chart. Consumer credit, consumer debt, is going through the roof. Americans have never been more indebted. U.S. consumer credit surged $17.9 billion in April to $5.01, not far from the record $5.10. This is in 1 month. Revolving debt, or credit cards, jumped $7.6 billion. That's the biggest rise since December. So December, we might understand. Cost of living was difficult, inflation, people using their credit cards for holiday purchases. Now here it is April, and it continues to increase. It jumped $7.6 billion. Americans are taking on massive debt to keep up with spending and to keep up with lifestyles. Now, let's talk about gold for a moment. A couple stories concerning gold here, because gold is on fire. Now, whenever we run some info like a message or a video to you concerning gold and gold on fire, always get the comments that this is fear-mongering. I want you to know this has nothing to do with fear-mongering, but anyone opposed to gold or sound money calls the facts fear-mongering. But listen, gold is on fire. Why is it on fire is the question you should be asking. Gold is on the offensive. Central banks are building reserves in gold because they realize the fiat world is crumbling and moving away from the dollar with dollar de-dollarization, Central banks are hoarding gold. Wait till you hear some stats in a moment. Costco can't keep it on the shelves. BRICS is eyeing a new precious metals exchange. China is expanding the Shanghai Gold Exchange. Even the ECB, or European Central Bank, fears gold demand could crack the system. The writing is on the wall. This is not to create fear. It is to create intelligence, knowledge, so that you can make smarter decisions. And many of you already have and continue to do so. But the reality is gold is on fire. Check out this chart as I share some data with you here. Gold's share of the global reserves reached 23% in Q2 of 2025. That's the highest level in 30 years. You should be asking why. Again, gold's share of global reserves reached 23% in Q2 of 2025. It's the highest level in 30 years. Over the last 6 years, the percentage has doubled. Central banks are increasing their gold reserves. It's before our very eyes. At the same time, the US dollar share of international reserves has declined 10 percentage points to 44%. That's the lowest since 1993. By comparison, the euro share has decreased 2 percentage points to 16%. That's the lowest in 22 years. If you just step back, you see gold reserves increasing. You see the utilization of the US and the euro decreasing as an international reserve. The writing's on the wall. Gold is replacing fiat currencies as reserve currency. Keep watching gold. Keep informed. Listen to this from Peter Schiff. The precious metals breakout is gathering steam. This is from a post on X. Silver is up another 2% today. I'll show you a chart in a moment. Closing in on $37. Platinum is up 4%, trading above $12.20. Less than 3 weeks ago, you could have bought platinum for less than $1,000. That's more than a 20% move. These moves are, of course, will be boding well for gold. Here's a chart for platinum. Platinum going parabolic as it soars to highest price in more than 4 years. Silver blast to the highest price in more than 13 years. Gold edges higher as eyes are on the China-US trade talks. As the dollar weakens, gold is on the rise as central banks build up their reserves in gold, replacing fiat currency. I wonder if you might think of doing what the central banks are doing for your own personal reserve and wealth. In other words, will you buy gold? If you'd like to learn more about gold, click on the link below. Plenty of resource for you to learn about physical gold, even digital gold, if that's something that you want to do. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you spending time with me. If you like what we are doing here, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. Consider sharing it so that more people can be aware of what we're doing here. Again, thank you, and I will see you next time.